Welcome to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island. Free-flowing talk with a charismatic, down-to-earth host. Join Dean as he interviews and chats freely with his guests, ranging from superstar athletes to politicians, industry titans, and everyday folk with fascinating life stories. Dean educates, entertains, and most of all, touches people's lives. You're listening to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dean Blechman Show. My special in-studio featured guest today is my friend, and he's running for District Attorney of Suffolk County, New York, Long Island, Ray Perini. Hello, Ray.
Hello, Dean. Pleasure to be here.
We've done some Dean on the Streets back in May and June, and I've always wanted you to come in studio here and experience this. Since we went video, you're one of my first guests right now.
Well, I think your studio is marvelous, and I love being one of your first guests.
You bet. You bet. Listen, let's just... election time's coming up November the 7th, and row B, the Republican line, Ray Perini. But listen, some of this might be repetitious, but let's describe the qualifications and experiences that make you the best candidate for Suffolk County District Attorney.
You know, I've had two full careers. 17 years a very successful narcotics prosecutor, 27 years in the criminal law practice that I started with my partner Maureen Herger. I was a respected prosecutor who did some of the biggest cases to date in this state, and I was a very respected and trusted criminal lawyer. So what I bring to the table that's unique is I've had my careers, I've built my resumes. I don't want to do anything but to make the district attorney's office great again.
Wow. There's no question about it. You have a long and distinguished career. Would you be able to say what were, one or two of the biggest cases that you handled in your career?
We actually seized a trawler with 6 Colombians on board. 40,000 pounds of marijuana up from Colombia, wow, out on the East Coast, in East Hampton at Sammy's Beach. On the shore were 11 organized crime figures with trucks waiting to take possession. We seized the trawler, we seized the Colombians, and we seized all 11 organized crime figures.
Wow.
Some of them pled. I tried 5 of them to verdict. They all went to prison. That was back in the 80s. That's still one of the largest cases.
Amazing.
Now, what we did was we also had a case where a fellow named Carlos Herrera, if I have his name correct, it was a few years ago, a Colombian cartel member, came to Suffolk County dealing with undercover officers. We had wiretaps up, and he wanted to start a network bringing in at least 50 kilos of cocaine on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. We locked him up and 4 of his associates, seized 50 kilos of cocaine in an undercover buy situation.
Wow.
Tried him, 25 years to life.
Wow.
What's more fascinating about that case is, not 4 years later, when he was in state prison, I picked him up on another state wiretap. A fellow named Tony Corso, who had been incarcerated with him, was using him to release drug packages, multiple kilos, that were going to be shipped to him from Colombia.
Wow.
And we got him off a wiretap. And the day we actually took the case down, I was in Corso's house. Carlos Herrera calls on that phone, and he goes, "Is the package there?" And I go, "Yes." He goes, "Who is this?" I go, "It's Ray Perini."
Wow.
And he looks and he talks on the phone. He says, "Oh," and I can't repeat what he said. And then he was arrested. So we not only got him once, we got him twice.
Wow.
One other case I want to mention because I'm very proud of it. That was we had an undercover police officer, probably the best detective in the state, if not the country. Purchased 2 kilos of cocaine. That's 4, almost 5 pounds of cocaine. They tried to find out his identity because they wanted to kill him before they went to trial. We put up wiretaps. We put up wiretaps in the jail when you had needed a wiretap. They just weren't recording. Locked up 11 people. Tried them. They all went to jail. Some cases I'm very, very proud of. And that's just a part of my portfolio.
Ray, I'm sure that we could sit here for hours, and you've got tremendous stories to tell of different cases that you dealt with successfully throughout your career?
Well, certainly as a prosecutor, we were very successful, very aggressive. I mean, we fought the war on drugs, and we fought it hard, and I think we made a real difference back in the day.
Listen, what do you believe are the most significant issues that are in this race today?
And I started my campaign back in January of this year because I wanted to get the Republican nomination. So I've been speaking, for months now. And I think there are three issues, and two of them are very obvious. One is MS-13. I never thought I'd see Suffolk County lose its streets or some of its communities to gangs, to gang violence. It's happened. I never thought I'd see 400 kids in 2016 die from opioid overdoses in Suffolk County. It happened. We can't tolerate that kind of crime. We can't tolerate that kind of violence. And the third part of my program is to take politics out of the DA's office. Do you realize we haven't gotten to vote for a district attorney since 2001?
I didn't know that, Ray.
I am going to be the first Republican running for DA in 16 years. And that's because the political bosses picked the Democrat back in 2001, and he has been cross-endorsed. By that, I mean he's gotten all the lines. He runs as a Democrat, he runs as a Republican, he runs as a conservative, and he runs as an independent.
Wow.
They've literally stolen the vote from the public and picked the DA by backroom deals. This is too important a job to allow that to happen. And you know what I did 4 years ago because I was sick of it? The DA was term limited, and he fought it, and he was getting cross-endorsed again. I ran a primary against him. Took him up to the Court of Appeals to try and sustain what we voted for, the term limits. I lost in the Court of Appeals, but at least I got to bring the lawsuit. Wow. And I was running against the most powerful man in the county, and I lost by about 6 points. I'm very proud I did that because right now I'm here today because the Republicans after that agreed never to cross-endorse at the top of the ticket again. So it's been a long fight, but this year I intend to win it.
You know, a good friend of mine that you know, that happened to introduce us, I won't mention his name, but he said when he introduced me to you, and I didn't know you at that point, he said you don't want to mess with that guy.
Well,
he says you don't want to have to go up against that guy. Well, you don't want to mess with him.
I've tried as a prosecutor, probably hundreds of cases, and as a criminal lawyer, I've tried. There's nothing I haven't done in the criminal justice system, and I've never backed down from a fight. How's that?
Listen, Ray, as a constituent and my family, the Blechman family, we had 2,000 employees here. We had a company called Twin Lab for years. We employed so many people. Plus, my brothers and I, we grew up in Freeport. We grew up on the South Shore. I just remember so many years of just bad stuff, constantly, bad stuff going on in the DA's office and going on in the Suffolk County Police Department's office. Just, years and years of bad stuff that went on,
Look, in the last 3 years since I ran that primary, a lot of things have come out. The Ballones handpicked chief of department. And when I say chief of department, that's the man who really runs the police department. A fellow named Burke.
Okay.
Pushed by the current DA.
Yes.
Was committing he is actually in federal prison right now, due to get out of jail in 2020 because of what he did, because of the cover-ups, because of the arm twisting to getting people to lie to protect him and certain other people. That can't be tolerated. The DA's office under investigation. Nothing's happened, but they've been under investigation, which stymies them completely. That's kind of politics in law enforcement. That's what we have to get out. Once they start thinking they can control what's right and what's wrong, the politicians, we lose. And that's not going to happen under my administration.
Listen, you mentioned heroin, you mentioned drugs, you mentioned gangs, and all that is interconnected. I mean, me personally, so many people have come out since I've had my show that have opened up about this subject, how prevalent, besides gangs, but how prevalent the heroin epidemic here is, specifically on Long Island, let alone throughout the country. It's, I've even experienced, months ago, I had to experience locally, dear friends of mine had to to go to a wake of a 21-year-old son. Oh boy, how painful that was. And, more and more people are coming forward to speak on my show about this subject. I mean, is there anything that you could really say more in regard to this area? How are you going to tackle that and that whole gang situation?
Well, I'm going to go. Remember, now I've been involved in narcotics enforcement my entire career. When I started as a young lawyer in the Brooklyn DA's office, something called the Rockefeller Law came into existence. That was a law we believed, and we were fighting the war on drugs, and we had the heroin wars in the city, and we were doing 600 murders in Brooklyn alone in a year. We thought we could incarcerate our way out of this problem. That was the wisdom back in the 70s. So for a gram of cocaine or heroin, you'd go to jail for 1 to life. For a half an ounce, you'd go to jail for 6 to life, and for an ounce, you'd go to jail for 25 years to life. When I came out to Suffolk and actually started the bureau, I realized that just was not going to work. It wasn't successful. So they modified that law dramatically, but they kept something called the kingpin statute. So when I become DA, there's going to be 3 components to what I do, and I actually did it back in the 80s. If I had an addict, someone who really was an addict but not a profiteer, I would put him into, and I had to deal with Apple, which became Phoenix House. I would put them in a program, not 30 days, but a year to a year and a half. If they completed that program, they would not go to jail. And I could even knock it down to a misdemeanor. That wasn't part of the court system. That's something I started going into the high schools to educate. And then the bad guys, I mean, there are plenty of major violators like the Carlos Herreras, who I put in jail for 25 years to life. So I think there's 3 components to this: education, treatment, and aggressive law enforcement.
Wow.
But now I'm going to put this into a little personal spin, because I've been doing this a long time, and I've dealt with a lot of young people who have had heroin problems and opioid problems. About 10, 12 years ago, I knew we had a serious, serious problem. I had young adults, doesn't cross all social lines, from everybody's neighborhood, who were coming into my office and telling me about their addiction problem, and telling me that they were actually crushing their parents' oxys and injecting it into their arm. That was something that I'd never heard happen across that spectrum of young people.
Wow.
And that's when the deaths started to spiral until 2016. 2016 was outrageous. It's unbelievable. But here's what I've had to do in my criminal practice. I know that the kid has a tremendous drug problem, and you have to be able to look at his background, what he's doing. And I bring their mom and dad up, and they're talking about, well, he's only smoking marijuana. I said, that's not true. This kid has a real problem. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If you get him arrested the next time jewelry's missing off your counter, or money is missing out of your sock drawer, if you put him in, you get him arrested, I will get him into court-mandated diversion.
Wow.
And I will put him in. They'll put him in a program for a year and a half. If you don't do that, you're going to bury your son. You know how hard a conversation that is to have with.
Very hard. Very hard.
But you know why I had that conversation? Because you don't know how many clients, 3, 4, 5 a year, were dying.
Wow.
And I couldn't sleep at night if I didn't have that heart-to-heart with the parents. That had to happen. So now when I become district attorney, that kingpin statute where I can put a profiteer in jail for 25 years to life for selling this poison to our kids, that's going to happen. But I'm going to take that money. I'm going to have to change the law a little bit because it's not quite, can't be done yet, and put that into bed space in rehab centers. Again, not for 30 days, but for a year to a year and a half, because you don't beat this problem. And then I put them on probation.
Wow.
And I'm going to go into I'm told now that you have to go into the 5th and 6th graders and really tell them about what's going on and try and help them make the right decision. And, whether it works or not, I would not sleep at night if I didn't attempt those 3 things to combat the drug problem, and that's exactly what I'll do.
Powerful. I believe you're going to do it.
Oh, I'm going to do it.
And we have a lot more to talk about, and we're going to come back, okay? This is a great discussion we're having. We're going to continue it. But for the time being, I want to thank you very much for being here today. And I think you're the right candidate for this position to clean up Suffolk County, clean up the DA's office, just clean up Long Island. And listen, there's all I know is I don't have any sponsors or advertisers on this show. This is a hobby and my passion. And no one pays me a salary, okay? This is fun, and it's inspiring, and you're pretty special to make your way in here, and I believe you're the right candidate, and I'm pleading with everyone, all my friends, family, my fellow constituents throughout Suffolk County that on November 7th, please vote Ray Perini on Row B, the Republican line. He's the guy for the job, okay?
Thanks.
We're going to come back, okay? From all of us at the Dean Blechman Show, Ray Perini. If you missed some of our Dean on the Street shows previously back in May or June, you could catch them and listen to them, see them on the show's Facebook and YouTube channel. Take care now. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island, New York. From all of us here, we'd like to thank you for tuning in. We look forward to hearing your comments via Facebook, Twitter, Skype, and email. And don't forget, you can visit the webpage anytime for the up-and-coming guest list. From all of us here, have a good evening.